Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into an incredibly exciting pitch deck teardown of a company that is aiming to completely revolutionize the landscape of militia transportation. The company is called Easy Rides Mobility, and they are pitching this really fascinating blend of electric vehicle infrastructure, e-hailing, and tech-driven fleet management. So if you're fascinated by how startups plan to disrupt traditional markets, all while riding that massive wave of green energy, well, you are absolutely in the right place.
Here is a quick roadmap of what we're covering today. First up, the commuter's EV dilemma. Then we'll officially meet Easy Rides Mobility and unpack their asset-light tech strategy. After that, we'll get into the weeds, crunching year-one numbers, zoom out for the 5-year master plan, and finally wrap up with the future of Malaysian mobility.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the commuter's EV dilemma, and how we might actually go about breaking this endless 9-to-5 fueling life cycle. I want you to think about your own daily travel for a second. For most of us, the standard 9-to-5 commute is just fraught with friction, right? You're dealing with traffic, sure, but you're also trapped in what the company accurately calls a non-stop fueling life cycle. You are constantly budgeting for wildly fluctuating petrol prices, routine maintenance, and honestly, just the sheer overall cost of vehicle ownership. And while a ton of commuters are super eager to switch to an electric vehicle to cut those daily operating costs, the upfront capital required to actually buy a brand new EV is often just way too high for the average person.
And this is exactly where the founder and CEO of Easy Rides Mobility, Zag Baharin, steps in. He framed the company's whole mission around a very relatable barrier to entry. He basically acknowledges that, hey, while the excitement for EV-powered transit is definitely there, the income and tools required to make the leap are just missing for a vast majority of Malaysians. So the startup's proposed solution is a mandate to, as they put it, go easy on yourself. Essentially, they want to democratize access to the electric vehicle lifestyle, but without that crushing financial burden of traditional car ownership.
So how exactly do you democratize the EV experience? Let's shift gears to Section 2. Meet Easy Rides Mobility, the EV e-hailing and rental solution.
The first thing to know is that Easy Rides isn't just another e-hailing app. It's built to be a modern, integrated smart mobility platform. They are positioning themselves right at this critical intersection between our daily public transport needs and the rapidly growing physical EV ecosystem. You know, all those charging stations and upgraded power grids popping up across the country. By plugging directly into this new infrastructure, they aim to offer a service where everyday drivers can access EVs seamlessly. It turns the transition to green energy from a distant luxury into a highly practical daily reality.
What makes their business model particularly compelling is how they function as an intelligent digital marketplace. They are definitely not relying on just one stream of income. Instead, they've built a really smart, diversified revenue pipeline. Sure, they take a standard 15 to 20% commission on passenger rides, but on top of that, they plan to offer premium monthly subscriptions to drivers, which gives those drivers lower commission rates and priority bookings. Then they scale it way up to the enterprise level, offering corporate transport packages and SaaS, software as a service, fleet management to businesses and government agencies. Finally, they open up B2B tech services, custom software development, and advertising partnerships. It's the whole shebang, a multi-layered monetization strategy, all housed under a single app.
But how do they actually plan to execute this and compete against those giant, established transport conglomerates? That brings us to Section 3, an asset-light tech strategy, which really comes down to prioritizing code over cars. So, the absolutely crucial point is this. Easy Rides operates on a strictly asset-light strategy. Think about traditional fleet companies. They take on massive, heavy debt to purchase thousands of cars, and those cars are assets that immediately begin depreciating in value the exact second they hit the road. Easy takes the complete opposite approach. They leverage independent, driver-owned EVs or smart rental partnerships. This means the company itself isn't bogged down by millions in vehicle loans. Instead, they redirect all that capital into brilliant code. They invest heavily in scalable software, robust cybersecurity to lock down user data, and aggressive customer acquisition. Essentially, they are a tech company first and a mobility company second. And because they aren't blowing all their funding on buying cars and building physical charging ports, they bypass those heavy infrastructure costs by establishing massive strategic partnerships. Look at the energy sector. Their deckless collaborations with national giants like TNB Malaysia, Gentari, and Handle Mobility to handle the charging ecosystem.
Then, over on the vehicle supply side, they aim to partner with massive distributors and assemblers like Perodua, Proton, DRB Hicom, SimDarby, and Tansha Motors. By integrating with these existing powerhouses, Easy can scale its marketplace incredibly fast without having to pour concrete and build the physical foundation from scratch. All right, now that we understand the strategic framework, let's get into the micro-financials in Section 4, crunching Year 1 numbers straight from their MITI budget proposal. To finalize commercialization, launch their initial marketing campaigns, and sustain their core staff in Year 1, Easy Rides Mobility is asking for an initial strategic funding block of exactly $500,000. Now, in the world of mobility startups, this is a remarkably lean initial ask. But again, this perfectly reflects that highly capital-efficient asset-light model we were just talking about. But check out the projected return they modeled here, a Year 1 ROI of 15.6%. So how on earth do they achieve this with just $500,000? Well, their working paper notes there are roughly 70,000 active EVs currently in the Klang Valley alone. To hit their Year 1 revenue target and actually turn a profit, Easy only needs to capture a market share of 0.14%. That literally equates to onboarding just 100 active EV drivers or rentals to their platform in the first 12 months. It is a highly targeted, very realistic market penetration goal.
And this breakdown brilliantly illustrates exactly where that ARM 500,000 is going. Notice anything missing? Yep, zero budget allocated to buying vehicles. The largest slice, ARM 205,000, is poured straight into technology development. That's building out the iOS and Android apps, the backend dashboard, and cloud hosting. The next biggest chunk, ARM 180,000, goes to staffing and operations, ensuring they have the developers and support team required to keep things running. Then we have ARM 80,000 for marketing and customer acquisition to get those first 100 drivers, followed by essential legal compliance and a small contingency fund. It's an incredibly focused allocation aimed entirely at getting that digital marketplace live.
But look, 100 vehicles in Year 1 is just the pilot phase. To understand the true macroeconomic ambition here, we need to look at Section 5, the 5-year master plan for rapid scaling.
Easy has mapped out a highly deliberate phased approach to scaling up. Phase 1, covering those crucial first 6 months, is all about app development, onboarding those initial drivers, and conducting pilot testing strictly within the high-density Klang Valley. Phase 2, rounding out the rest of the first year, sees the full commercial launch and the introduction of their premium driver subscriptions. But it's really Phase 3, starting in Year 2, where the massive growth kicks in. That is when they plan to scale nationwide, start integrating AI route optimization, and eventually roll the platform out across the broader ASEAN market.
Let's move to the financials and see how this builds. According to their expanded 5-year commercial projection, by fully activating their rental fleet and e-hailing commissions, Year 1 gross revenue with that 100-car fleet aims for around RM 3.3 million. But by utilizing retained earnings to fund their own growth without taking on heavy debt, the projection shows an explosive leap. By Year 5, as they expand to a 10,000-vehicle fleet across the region, gross revenue is projected to top RM 337.8 million. It's your classic tech scaling curve. Once the software is built and those fixed costs are covered, expanding to new users significantly compounds the profit margins.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring this pitch deck teardown back to the real world in our final section, the future of Malaysian mobility and accelerating the EV transition. The proposal makes a really compelling case that supporting an asset-light, tech-first startup like Easy Rides Mobility strongly aligns with Malaysia's broader national energy transition and ESG goals. By completely removing the financial barrier of owning a vehicle and instead providing a digital ecosystem where independent drivers can easily access EVs, they are accelerating the adoption of green technology right on the ground level. It takes the electric vehicle and transforms it from a niche, high-end product into a highly accessible, everyday utility for the general public. It's an undeniably ambitious roadmap, right? Combining complex software development with heavy-hitting industry partnerships to fundamentally redefine how we travel. Now, whether they can actually hit that 10,000 vehicle target in 5 years remains to be seen. But their digital-first approach to a deeply physical transportation problem is just absolutely fascinating, which leaves us with one final thought to ponder based on everything we've looked at today. As this infrastructure grows and the software scales, will your next daily commute be an easy one? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.